Ready to go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Not if you want pictures.
That's going to be held in Markham. Come on up, Don. John and Alex. Alex, oh, you're canvassing? No. This is a gathering to get ready for this by-election that's going to take place. The by-election hasn't been called yet because McGuinty is just like that guy in Ottawa. He's dithering and he's not calling the election. So, friends, my name is Pauline Krause, and I'm very happy to be helping Alex Yuan. Friends, this is going to be an important year, 2007. We've got this by-election, we've got possible federal election, and of course we've got the big election in October with Tory to be Premier. So I think that we should designate 2007 the year of elections, because that's what we're going to be doing. So a few weeks ago I had the great pleasure of meeting Alex Yuan. And I was very impressed with Alex, as you are, when he was nominated in November. That when I met him, I was very impressed with his commitment that he has had to the community, his successful business acumen, his energy, and his enthusiasm is going to serve the citizens of Markham very well indeed. And so whenever this election gets called, you can be sure that we're ready, because we have the office, we've got the telephones, we've got the signs that you see, we've got the literature printed, and Alex has already been out to the malls, out to many events, and he has been canvassing and meeting people at the doors. So yes, Alex Yuan and the team is off and running. And we are determined to have victory in Markham for the PCs and Alex Yuan. So many of you have known Alex for a long time, and you know of his strengths.
Well, thank you so much, and Pauline, thank you for the introduction.
that popularity if I'd known I had more, I might have run again. But we're here to celebrate two others that are very popular and deserving of our attention and support, Tory and Yuan. I've known both of them for a coon's age, but I'm going to talk about Alex. And Alex is a person that I've known for at least 20 years, maybe longer, and I see him as a person of character. First of all, a successful businessman. It's not an easy thing to go out and start your own business and make it the success he has. And Alex has been successful in business for many years and continues to be so. But that isn't all. Alex is a family man, and all you have to do is meet Lucy and Michael and Maria, and you realize how important family is to him, and that everything that he does is built around family. If he can do the business to support his family and help them succeed, that's very much where he's at. But he goes a step further. And where I've gotten to know Alex even more is in the last few years we've served in several boards together. And the one board is a board that he started, Sports for Kids. This demonstrates something at the heart of the man where there are young people across the province who don't have the funds to play sports. And this is a way of getting them into sports so that they have an even playing field with others. Alex has led this program for a number of years, and Bill Bell and myself and others have been on his board to help support it. But he's put hundreds of thousands of dollars out there helping young people. And that, again, is part of this man. Alex is a person who gives back. So many people are takers, but in this man you see something of that generous spirit that he's come and he wants to make this a better world around him. I never thought that Alex would go into politics, but now that he's going into it, and I'm going out, I just like to think we've got the kind of person with character that's going to make a difference. He's honest, he's hardworking, he's conscientious, he's responsible, he's inclusive. He has all the attributes that really go to make a strong, good candidate. So ladies and gentlemen, I can pledge my support for Alex and hope you'll do the same. So at this point, I'd like to bring him forward and introduce and welcome Yuan.
No matter what types of project I have in mind, no matter what I want to do, I want to thank him. He is our former Mayor of Richmond Hill, Mayor Bill Bell. I want to thank and want to acknowledge there's a number of members, executive members of the Markham riding, and also the Central Party members and executives are here to support and to make sure this event is running the way it should be and how we will win this by-election together. Boy, one thing I know, I'm a very lucky person today. I'm here to meet with the next Premier of Ontario, Tory. Tory and I have a number of things in common. We both are businessmen, and we both have done a lot for the community in the past, and still is. One thing I have to tell you, that I am a very simple person, and I have no aspiration to run politics at all in the past. But with what McGuinty have done and mismanaged, that drive me to step forward. And I'll give you a few examples. What I have really bothers me, and what a number of people I spoke in the past number of years, and really bugs them to death. For example, the gridlock. People move to Markham to build a business because it's a good place to do. But with the gridlock, now we spend hours in the traffic gridlock to go to work, and we spend a lot of time when we come to home. But what is our McGuinty government plans to do today, and what have they planned for tomorrow? Absolutely nothing for the last 3 years I've seen. We want to have a responsible, respect government to plan for us and to actually respect our tax dollars that we work so hard. Speak about tax. McGuinty, when they come to power, they say, trust me, I will not raise your tax. With the unfair tax that they put on, this is called health tax, I tell myself, this is crazy and ludicrous. They've given us the tax which is given to those low and middle income families they cannot afford. And we pay more and get less. I'll give you another example with the health issue is how many people know when you go to the emergency room and you have to wait for hours before you even attend to see the emergency doc. If you ever have to see a specialist, how many people know you will have to wait for 3 months to 7 months before you even have your first consult? I work in the healthcare industry. I work in the research and development. I understand business. I talk to doctors every day. They are my friends, they are my clients, and now they are my supporters. I have people telling me that we cannot stand this government and we have to make a difference. McGuinty again telling us that, trust me, with the property tax assessment, we will not go to tell you until a year later whether there'll be another 20, 30, maybe even 50% increase in our property tax. What are we going to do? In my mind, we have to tell this government this is not acceptable. We have to tell them this. We have to have an answer now. I love this man. His name is called Tory. He has visions. He has idea what will bring forward for Ontarians to respect the tax dollar, what we work so hard, and we want to make sense for how things are supposed to be. With the McGuinty government, how they run as a government, we will have bankrupt if we do the same policy in business. I need your help. I need your money. I need your time. I need your friend to help me, to bring me to Queen's Park, to voice your concern as a strong message for Markham. I want you all to welcome our next Premier of Ontario, Tory.
Bill Bell, and Jim Jones. I'm delighted to have one person here, Jim, who's recovering from some health issues and looks very hale and hearty, and two people, recently retired mayors who are recovering from being in public office, and they look hale and hearty. They both look terrific, and I'm delighted that they're here together with Councillor David Cohen, and I think that makes a statement in and of itself that these people would be here, and I'm most grateful for the fact they would be here. I'm actually just delighted to be at a daytime event. My schedulers have had me on an interesting schedule the last couple of days. Friday night I went to a dinner in the Pakistani community, the Pakistani Canada Business Council, and then went out for 4 hours with the Toronto Police Service until 3 o'clock in the morning, seeing the work that they do firsthand, and then got back at it again early yesterday morning. And last night I went to celebrate Ukrainian Christmas with some of the people in the Ukrainian community at the midnight church service. So I was beginning to think there was a pattern setting in there where all of my work was going to be done at midnight, but fortunately this event was scheduled during the day, during sunlight hours. And it also is the first time that I have attended a party event in 2007 since this party became debt-free before the end of... to Ontario, and the kind of leadership that our team wants to bring to Ontario, because while the party debt isn't something you want to spend a lot of time talking about, We had it when I became the leader 2 years ago, just a little more than 2 years ago. And what I said at that time is we were going to get rid of it, we were going to work hard to get rid of it, and we were going to do that by working hard at fundraising, but also by being prudent in terms of what we did on the spending side. And that's exactly what we did. And that's how you have to look after the affairs of the taxpayers' money as well, which is to make sure that you go out and raise money responsibly through fair taxation, but that you also, as Alex said, are responsible on the spending side and take care with every single dollar of the taxpayers' money that you take in. And so the most important thing about this debt, and the reason I mention it, is because it's an example of us doing what we said we would do. We said internally in our own party we would get our house in order and get things sorted out so that we had no debt and we could eliminate something from the past that was an unfortunate byproduct of an unsuccessful election and so on, and we did it. And I think that if you look to one thing that you're going to get from me and from the team that I have the privilege to lead, it's a group of people who are going to do what they say they're going to do. That if they say something, it's going to be done. So delighted that someone with Pauline's experience in all aspects of politics is being of such a help to Alex and to me. But I want to join them in saying how privileged we are to have a candidate of Alex's background representing us in this by-election coming up. And I want to join them as well in wondering why in heaven's name Dalton McGuinty has not called this by-election. These seats were vacated in September. We knew at that time there would be the need for a by-election. Both Mr. McGuinty and Mr. Sobera said there would be a by-election, and they have now left these people without representation here and in York South-Weston and in Burlington for months at a time, totally unnecessarily, because for whatever reason he chooses to dither and to delay. And I think that that is unacceptable, and he should get on with calling these by-elections immediately so that these people can get some representation. Here who, as Don Cousins said, is an experienced and successful business person, someone who stepped up and created his own business and took a risk and has created jobs for other people and economic activity in this region. He's also somebody who's a technology pioneer. He understands the use of technology to help us do better in terms of our business and economic life in the province of Ontario. But probably the most important thing, beyond his being a wonderful family man, as Don said, is that he is a community activist. He is a person who has seen challenges in the community and not just shaken his head and said that's too bad, not just written a check, which is important, but he has stepped up and done something about it, including founding a wonderful organization that Don made reference to, Sport for Kids. I've been to the gala. In fact, that's where I first met Alex years ago at a wonderful, wonderful annual event they have that raises tens of thousands of dollars to help kids who can't participate in sports. The number one reason, I'm going to mention 2 or 3 issues, but I think the real reason we need somebody like him is that this community, one of the fastest growing and most dynamic and exciting communities in all of Canada, needs someone who is going to speak up for the community, is going to be encouraged to speak up for the community, as opposed to what we've seen happen the last 3 years. Let's be frank about this. Let's be frank about this. Mr. Yuan got elected to the legislature on the Liberal ticket, and was then promptly told, I don't blame him for quitting provincial politics, because he was promptly told to go and take that seat in the back row and speak up only when we let you know it's time for you to speak up. Well, I can tell you I find that kind of thing completely unacceptable. Alex Yuan, as the representative for this area in Markham, will come to Queen's Park with an invitation, in fact with my insistence, that he speak up on behalf of Markham, speak up on behalf of the needs of every single resident of this community, and talk about the issues. Frankly, even if it makes me feel uncomfortable, I want him there, and it won't make me feel uncomfortable. Says what's on his mind. He means what he says, and he says what he means. And I know the kinds of things he's going to come and join me in speaking up on are the fact that we have this vibrant and fast-growing community thanks to the leadership of people like Don Cousins, and yet the infrastructure just hasn't kept up with that growth. You have to ask yourself, why is it? You know, there's somebody here from Mr. McGuinty's office. They do follow me around, and we offer them a ride to the events. I know her. She's a very nice person. I mean, I'm just delighted she's here. She's always at the events. It's great. But we offer them a ride to try and save energy. They never accept our invitations. And when it's at events where, you know, you do all, I mean, you have any problems with the McGuinty government, birth certificates that are delayed or whatever, I'm sure she'll put her hand up. But if they wanted to be honest with people, the two things that have been done in York Region to do with transportation in the last 3 years since they took office, the high occupancy vehicle lanes, guess who initiated that project and got it on the drawing boards and got it planned? Frank Cleese, Progressive Conservative Minister of Transportation. The Viva bus service, guess who was involved in the planning of that and gave the first $50 million to fund that? Frank Cleese, Progressive Conservative Minister of Transportation. What they haven't done with respect to transportation in this area, you won't find a list because there isn't one. The two things they go around now claiming credit for were both initiatives of the Progressive Conservative government. And when you look at what has been done in the 3 years that have passed, with respect, for example, to the eastward extension of the 407, which is one thing that will help with transportation and integrated transportation network in this area, the answer is nothing. The answer is nothing. And there's nothing else they have to point to as well. And that is not acceptable, and there's been no one speaking up because Mr. Yuan was told, you go and take your seat, we'll let you know if we need to hear from you. Well, I know we're going to hear from Alex when it comes to transportation. How about health care? It's been mentioned. It's been mentioned. I had a call and one day stood up in the legislature, some of you may remember it, because I had a call from somebody who was phoning me in the legislature when I was in question period from the Markham Stouffville Hospital, indicating they'd taken their mother there who was stricken with serious cancer, terminal cancer, and they'd been waiting for hours in terrible pain in that waiting room and had not been seen by a doctor for hours. Well, we got up that afternoon, 5 minutes after that phone call came, and asked a question of the Minister of Health. And a couple of hours later, the woman had some care. But why should it be the case in one of the fastest growing communities in Canada, in a hospital where they have some of the good professionals that can provide the care, that because of the inattention of the government, that it takes a question in the legislature from a phone call coming into the legislature on a portable phone to get some action and to get some care so people don't have to lie in the waiting room on a stretcher with serious cancer in terrible pain. That's not acceptable, and Alex Yuan is going to come to Queen's Park and talk about that. The last thing that I'll mention that he's going to talk about is he is going to talk about broken promises. Because when I go door to door, it frankly disheartens me. I see examples of how politics can be done right, and I think, in particular, of our two retired mayors who are here, Don Cousins and Bill Bell. I went to retirement dinners for both of them. And you heard people stand up over and over and over again. And the main reason they spoke so glowingly about these two gentlemen wasn't necessarily because of their accomplishment, or it wasn't necessarily because they kept taxes under control, or the things they could point to that had been built on their watch. It was because they were people of integrity. They were people who could be relied on to do what they said they would do. They were people who could be relied on to keep their word in politics. And if you contrast a well-deserved round of applause for them and for the kind of politicians they represented, you contrast that with Mr. McGuinty's record, where he seemed quite prepared at the time of the last election to say absolutely anything he felt he had to say to try and win a vote. Anything. It didn't matter how irresponsible it was. It didn't matter if he had not a clue as to whether it could be implemented or not. He said, I promise I won't raise your taxes. The coal plants will all be closed by 2007. Ontario will be diverting 60% of its waste by 2007. I could go on and on and on. He said anything he felt he had to say to win an election. And so, as much as I get disheartened when I go door to door and hear people speaking ill of politicians, I know why they think that way. And it is one of the things that I am determined to fix. And it's going to take time. And it's going to be fixed only by doing what you say you're going to do, only by understanding that your word means everything, not the nothing that Mr. McGuinty thinks it means, and by electing people like Alex Yuan, who understands that as well, who's going down there to say, I'm not going to break promises, I'm going down there to keep them. I'm only going to make promises that I can keep and that I fully intend to keep when I get there. So that's what I'm talking about. I would pose, ladies and gentlemen, with this question, which I would suggest that you pose to people at the door. And I hope that each and every one of you have agreed to sign up to come and help Alex Yuan at the door on the hustings in Markham when Mr. McGuinty summons up the courage to call this by-election, because we need your help. We lost this riding by quite a significant margin last time. Let's be candid about that. There's no point in not being candid. But I think that we've got the right candidate, we've got the right opportunity with what happened with Mr. Wong and the disgraceful manner in which he was treated. I think we've got the right opportunity to make a difference this time with a fabulous candidate like this. But I would suggest one of the questions you might want to ask people at the door, beyond talking about our good candidate, beyond talking about the team we have at Queen's Park, and the fact that we're going to take this honest and straightforward approach to politics. Ask people why they think it would be in the best interests of Markham to send one more Liberal backbencher down to Queen's Park to be told to go sit in the back row and keep quiet until it's time to leave. Ask them why they think that. Is a big dose of Alex Yuan and what he represents in terms of enterprise, in terms of hard work, in terms of honesty, in terms of community service, and in terms of his willingness, indeed his eagerness, to speak up for the people of this community and make sure that we get some things done for Markham. And that people will be able to say when we reach even the next election, as soon as October of this year, that man, Alex Yuan, made a difference for us. He spoke up for us. He had the courage to go there and fight for Markham because Markham deserves someone fighting for it, and he deserves to be re-elected as part of a new progressive conservative government that I'm confident we can elect in October of this year. So let's get to it. Let's get on to it.
You have heard the message, and the message is clear, the message is strong, and now it's up to us. And so at the door we have these Building Towards Victory sheet to fill in your name, address, phone number, email, and what you are prepared to do in the next few weeks as we prepare and do this by-election. We'd appreciate that. Take an extra one home with you and give it to your neighbors so they can fill it in too. And so we look forward to working with each of you, and thank you so much for coming here today.
By some margin the last time, but I think the manner in which Markham has been silenced over the last 3 years, and the quality of candidate I have in Alex Yuan means that we have a good choice. I think people will want to send a message to Dalton McGuinty about broken promises, about how he silenced the member for Markham in the past, about gridlock, and about the healthcare situation and taxes, and I think that will be very positive for us. I think it is unacceptable to the people of Markham and the other two ridings that have been without representation for several months now. Mr. McGuinty would delay, apparently for his own selfish political purposes. These people deserve to have representation. Those by-elections could have been called in October and over long before Christmas. He's chosen to delay them, and I think it's another reason people should send him a message and say, we don't like that, we don't like the fact we left us without representation, and we need some people to speak up for us at Queen's Park. Now, and they'll be called, I think, in the next couple of weeks. I don't know why they weren't called months ago. I think it's a disgraceful manipulation of the system that Mr. McGuinty would wait this long, when in fact he could have called them in October and had them long since over with by now. I've known Alex Yuan for a number of years through his community work and through his business accomplishments. I need, and I think Markham needs at Queen's Park, somebody who's an accomplished businessman, somebody who's an experienced community activist who's done many things to help disadvantaged people, and someone who's going to speak up for Markham. And I'm confident this man is going to speak up for Markham and end the 3 years of silence we've had where Mr. McGuinty forced Mr. Wong to sit at the back bench and remain quiet when there were so many priority projects that needed to be advocated on behalf of the people of Markham. He ran federally for the Conservative Party, and he didn't step up. I was looking for a candidate as far back as October or November, and Mr. Lee did not come forward at that time and indicated he wanted to run. I don't pick the candidates. The Riding Association picks the candidates, and in this case, the person who was most enthusiastic about running, he spoke up early on and said he wanted to run with Mr. Yuan, and I was delighted that he did. I think having new faces is a very good thing for politics because it means you can attract new people, people with the kinds of qualifications Mr. Yuan has in business, in community activism, to come to politics, and I think that's a very good thing. For me to be out with him in the community door to door, as I have been 3 or 4 times already, going door to door and introducing ourselves to people. People still don't know me all that well yet as the leader of the opposition. They don't know Alex as well because he's the new candidate. But I think when people meet us and they hear our message, message that we want to speak up for Markham. We want to address the issues of the health tax and cancelling it, gridlock and the fact that Mr. McGinty's not doing anything about it, taxes and assessment that are skyrocketing for people in Markham. They will respond positively to that message. We're hard on that. We're out recruiting candidates right now. We paid off the party debt. We are developing our platform, which will be released in the spring, and so we're working hard to get ready for an election that will be coming in October 2007. And we'll of course continue to do that work while we work on these 3 by-elections. Obviously, a big challenge in front of us to those from opposition to government, but I think people are very disappointed in Mr. McGinty and his relatively weak leadership. They're disappointed in the fact they're getting no results on health care, even though their taxes have gone up. They're disappointed they're sitting in traffic jams every day for hours and hours and nothing is being done about gridlock. And so I think that there's a good opportunity for us to present a different image, a different vision, a different leader, a different style of leadership, and to get some things done for people. So we're going to work hard. The voters get to decide, and we'll accept their judgment. Thanks very much.